Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the Hypnosales Show. Today we're going to be learning about how to eliminate the competition. So I'm sure you're curious as to, what kind of technique can I present in a training like this from a hypnosales perspective that could help you with the competitors that your product or service might be up against. I don't even know your product or service, but I'm going to tell you from a hypnosis perspective, there is a couple laws here that I want to share that I've learned to use to help my clients and my prospects realize that potentially my product is the one they want to go with. Now, if they have decided they want to go with a competing product, they're going to go with it. No matter what I say, no matter what I suggest, they're always going to go with whatever they feel comfortable with, whatever they've justified in their mind based on their research and how they model reality and how congruent everything is with their understanding of what they need and what they want and what you offer. They're going to make their decision on their own. It doesn't matter what we say. But if they're really trying to decide and you want to kind of influence them a little bit subconsciously to get them to put a little bit more focus on your product or service, to really give it a fair shake, to really evaluate it and make sure that they're making the right decision, you can do that using these two laws that I'm going to share with you today. So I learned this as a master hypnotist, helping my clients who want to be hypnotized to change bad habits they might have or overcome fears they might have, or whatever improvement they want to make in their life, and they're needing a hypnotist to help them with the power of hypnosis to reprogram their subconscious, and they want to be influenced that way to become better and be more improved. These laws I'm going to share here are a couple of the ways that you can bring someone through that journey to where on their own they can reprogram their own subconscious with hypnosis. Okay, so I just borrowed them and I brought them over into the sales world, into the business world. And you can use it pre-sales and post-sales, whichever interaction you want, whatever type of engagement that you are used to doing or as part of your role as a customer-facing role that you have, you can use these laws to your advantage. And so I'll just share the two laws here so I can explain them and then show you how this would work. Okay, so the first one is called the law of reverse action. So this law of reverse action means basically that whatever consciously you put your mind on consciously, subconsciously, there's going to be a natural resistance to not do and not look at and not focus on and avoid at all cost whatever you're focusing on consciously. So whatever you try to do with your conscious, your subconscious is not going to let you do it. It's going to do the reverse. It's going to take the reverse action. That's what this law of reverse action really means. And that's how I'm using it in this instance. So whatever I decide to do consciously, my subconscious is going to decide to do the opposite, the reverse. The second law is the law of association. So subconsciously, you're always trying to associate the things you hear with the things you already know in the subconscious. So as you grow older and older and older and have more experiences and go through life, you have a set of things you already know that you've already associated with since you were born, and you've associated things in your subconscious, and then you have new inputs coming in continually all your life. And you're taking those inputs and you're associating the things that make sense, that match your model of reality in your subconscious, and anything that doesn't match you reject, or you distort, you change it to make it fit into your subconscious, or you just delete it, you just ignore it, you don't even use it. Or you can also generalize it too. You can generalize it to make it fit in a general way, and you associate it into your subconscious. So that's the law of association. Our subconscious is always trying to associate everything we hear with something that we already know to make sure we're comfortable with it and make sure it fits. In fact, all these trainings you watch on my channel here, each of you is using this law of association subconsciously to take this new information I'm giving you, and you're deciding, is that like something I already know? Is that something new? Do I need to find a space for it? Do I believe that? Am I skeptical? Maybe I don't want to do that, Maverick, because I don't like that technique because it doesn't match. And it's not associated, and you don't know how to associate it. In other cases, if you're a follower now of my channel, you probably have learned to associate a lot of the things I'm sharing with you in these lessons, and you associate it in your subconscious, and then it becomes a congruent piece of what you know now, and you take it with you and you apply it and you use it yourself. And that's what I want. I want to attract those of you that are followers to associate it. And I want this law of association to be in action all the time, because why would you be watching this if you weren't trying to associate it with what you already know in your subconscious? So that's what's going on. So you have this law of reverse action and a law of association, and you put these two laws together, and that's what enables hypnosis to happen. That's what enables you to influence anyone that you're talking with, if you combine them in the right way to trigger these mechanisms in the subconscious to have this resistance and also this association going on at the same time. So as an example, if I were trying to hypnotize you, in fact, I can try it right now. If you want to participate with me, I can do a little bit of an experiment. It's called a hypnotic test. And I'll just do it with you right now, and I'll use these two laws, and then I'll explain what I'm doing afterwards, and then I'll show you how you can apply it with your prospects to eliminate the competition specifically, okay? So I'll just ask you to stand up if you can, or get to where at least you're sitting up straight, and you can freely take your hands and you can enclasp your hands together like this gesture that I'm always doing in all my videos. I'm always showing congruency, and I'm always putting my fingers together like this. I want you to put your fingers interlaced like this together. Then I want you to bring it together and then put your thumbs one on top of the other like that. Okay, so you make like a clasping hands just like that. And I want you to just press really hard and just really grasp it as hard as you can, just as hard as you can, grasp it together. And then I want you to take your two index fingers, which are your two top fingers right here, okay? And I want you to put them together like that while continuing to grasp the rest of your fingers interlaced and your thumbs on top, and just press your hands together, your palms together, your fingers, and just pull with your fingers tight together. Just pull it really tight, and your fingers really tight. And then I want you to just lift this up above your head like this. Just lift this up above your head, and I want you to look at the top of those two fingers. Just look at the top of the two fingers, and then I want you to open up the fingers like that, as far apart as you can, while continuing to press your hands together. You're grabbing and compressing your hands together while your two fingers are apart. And I want you to stare at that finger, the two fingers, the space that's in between that open fingers. Just stare at that, and then I want you to just try to pull your fingers apart. But the harder you try to pull your fingers apart, the more they want to pull together like two magnets. So like two magnets, the tips of your fingers like two magnets, and they're pulling together. No matter how hard you try, you can't pull them apart. You can try to pull them apart, but they continue to pull together. No matter how hard you try, you can't do it. Go ahead, try to pull your fingers apart. Keep them apart, but you can't, because the magnets inside each finger is pulling them towards each other. They're pulling themselves together. You can't do it. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to pull them apart. Go ahead and try as hard as you can, but the more you try, the more they pull together. The more you try to pull them apart, the more they go together. The more you try to pull them apart, the tighter and tighter your hands are, and the closer and closer those fingers get together. Okay, so some of you, most of you, your fingers probably, you tried to keep them apart, but they kept pulling together like that. They kept pulling together as I was talking to you like that. Now go ahead and shake out your hands. I know that maybe you might have been holding it really tight like I was. Shake your hands out, and I'll explain what's happening there. If that happened to you, and some of you it may not have happened, but some of you that are watching, you may have been really surprised that your fingers were pulling together more and more the more I told you. It's like I was influencing you to pull your fingers together. And the reality is I was using these two laws when I was communicating that to you. The first one is I was associating it that the more you do something, the less something else is going to happen. The more you do something, the more something else is going to happen. I was associating two different disparate things that had nothing to do with each other, and I associated it for you as I was telling you. And then they use the law of reverse action by telling you that the more you try to pull them apart, the more they go together. The more you try to pull them apart, the more magnetic, and the more they close and they pull together. So I was suggesting to you to go ahead and try to consciously pull them apart, but consciously you were performing the reverse action subconsciously, and it was pushing them together, because it's going to do the opposite. It's going to do the reverse action of what I'm suggesting for you to do. Now, the key to it, though, is I was saying the more you try. And if you watch my other previous video on negatives, I talk about the word try meaning no. So try, you can't really try. You either do something or you don't do something. So I was suggesting for you to try to pull them apart which really means you're not going to pull them apart. That's what I'm telling your subconscious. Try to pull them apart, but the more you try to pull them apart, the more they go together. So I'm using this association, the law of association. The more you try them up, pull them apart, the more they go together. And the law of reverse action is naturally happening because I'm saying the more you try to pull them apart, the more you find that they start magnetically closing and attracting themselves to each other, and they pull towards each other. Go ahead and try. And I even said a couple times, go ahead and try to pull them apart. Try to pull them apart because I want this law of reverse action to kick in, right? Try to pull them apart. Just go ahead and try. But the more you try, the more you'll find you can't do it. The more you try, you can't do it. Now, if you've ever seen a stage hypnotist, this is exactly the two things they're using when they go and they kind of get the audience to participate with them, and they do one of these things like I just showed you with the fingers like this or some other kind of thing. Maybe they'll say, you have books in one hand and balloons in another hand, and they'll, you feel the weight of the books and you feel the balloon pulling your hand up. They'll do some kind of a test like that. And the reason why they're doing that is they're using these two laws to test to see who in the audience is the most in the most suggestible, in the most hypnotic sense, already being hypnotized already by the show, by being at the show, or just maybe their life in their life. There's an estimation that 1 in every 4 people are naturally in a hypnotic state at any specific point in time, all of us included, throughout the day. So in a show, typically they'll use these two laws, and they'll do like what I just did with you, a demonstration to find who, the people that their fingers go together, those are the ones they bring up on stage because they're already suggestible, they're already ready to be on stage because they're already in hypnosis. So that's what they're doing. And if for those of you that your fingers went together when I was making these suggestions to you, you would be the ones I would probably bring up on stage too if I was doing stage hypnosis, because you're already in a state of hypnosis. So I can use these laws with my clients to eliminate the competition by just using the same phrasing that I was using. So, for example, now of course I'm not going to have them clasp their hands and do like this, because that's a hypnosis thing, and I wouldn't do that with my clients or my prospects. But what I might say is, in casual conversation, I might say, you can go ahead and look at other competitors, some of our competitors, but the more you try to look at and see the value in other competitors, the more you're going to find that our product is probably the more better suited product for you. Okay, I'll say that again. You can go ahead and try to look and see value in other competing products, but the more you try to look at other competitors and see the value in those products and services, the more you're going to find that our product has way more value than any of those other competing products do. So in other words, I'm telling them to go ahead and try to look, but the more they try, the more they're going to find value in my product. So associating that when they try to look for value in other products, competing products, the more they're going to see the value in my product instead. I'm using that law of association, and I'm telling them to look. Go ahead and try to find a value in the other products. I encourage you to go ahead and try to do that. I'm not telling them to do it. I'm saying try. I'm using that keyword try. Go ahead and try to look for the value. I want you to be fair with us, and I want you to go ahead and try and find value in other products. But I'm just going to tell you and suggest to you right now, the more you try to do that, the more you're going to find that you're going to come back to us and you're going to realize that our product has way more value than those other products do. Now, some of you might be saying to yourself, that sounds a little cocky, but in reality, that's what your clients and prospects expect you to say. They know you want to be confident. They want you to be confident. They want to know you believe and have reason to suggest that to them. But if you think about it, you're telling them to go ahead and look. You're not afraid to tell them to look at competing products, because you know that your product is going to be the better product for them. It's just using that word try is the key to the whole thing. Try really means no. It triggers this reverse action to occur in their mind and their subconscious. And then the law of association of the more they look for other value in other things, the more they're going to find value in your current product or service. So that's the technique, that's the trick, that's the secret of using these two laws. And that's how I've successfully been able to eliminate competition as much as I can. Again, if the client wants to go with another product, they can. But if I can have some influence on that and get them to realize that maybe our product is the better product, they'll make their own decision on their own. I can't make them do it. but I can suggest and be influential and persuasive by using these particular laws right here in those cases. Thank you for watching. I know you find value in these videos now, didn't you? And if you, like me, are in a customer-facing role, I'm wondering if you want to watch another video now designed to help you get better at what you do every day. Or not. You don't have to watch another video if you don't want to.